So let me talk a little bit about mentorship. This is a topic near and dear to my heart. However, I think I have a very different take on it than what is the norm. So the norm is that accelerators, mentors typically work with accelerators, and typically what accelerators do is they reach out, as GSIP has done, and done a very good job, by the way, of reaching out to the community at large and finding out people that have some business savvy and business experience and some seasoning and some gray hair, and ask them, would you like to come mentor? And of course, one of the first questions they think of, or they actually ask, is this paid? The answer is no, it's not paid. We expect that you are at a position in your life in which you would like to give back, and you don't need to get paid. So that starts to establish a line in their minds as well. Okay, yes, I want to give back, but I can give just so much time. And so that starts to put a limit on the time that the mentor commits. So that's one thing that happens. And the other is that there's this idea that mentorship is best done by people who have actually been successful with a startup. And in fact, that sometimes is the last person that can mentor properly, because they're convinced if they've been successful, they're convinced they know everything. And mentorship is a process. And frequently, even a successful entrepreneur has to learn the process. And frequently, successful entrepreneurs don't want to learn a process. Again, they think they know everything. So you need to have mentors who are, in fact, savvy, seasoned, mature, but open to learning. And the best thing is a mentor who's open to learning, to being trained, and then open to learning with the team. The attitude is, all right, let's discover this together, kind of thing. And that's another thing. You don't want a mentor that sort of knows the answer, because he probably doesn't know the answer, just as the team doesn't know the answer. The customer knows the answer. So they have to work together to validate with the customer their ideas. So it's that kind of attitude that works very well with a mentor. The most successful thing in mentoring also is a consistency and a persistence. In the beginning, a mentor should really be on a weekly basis, spending an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours with the team to help them start to hypothesize about what they think the business model is, and then help them go out and ask the right questions to validate that business model, and be sort of a devil's advocate. A mentor has to be very much of a that doesn't sound right, they need to say, and they need to sort of challenge in a way. You haven't convinced me that that's right. You need to go out and talk to more customers, and that will convince me that that's right. So they have to have that attitude of challenging and devil's advocate, because really what you're trying to do, what the entrepreneur needs to do, is get to the truth, get to the right market customer segment, not the world. Get to the right problem that they're solving, get to the right price that they're, that takes a mentor that really has the right attitude and is able to apply the seasoning comes in when the entrepreneur goes out and talks to potential customers and comes back and says, and the mentor says, so what did the customer say to that question? And the entrepreneur says, well, they said this, and that's good. And the mentor needs to be able to say, actually, what he said actually could, in fact, mean that it's that part of the product is not really what he wants. He wants something else. Did you go down and ask? No, I didn't. Well, then maybe you need to go back and ask that question about the other possibility, the other feature. That's the attitude and the mentality of a mentor. It's a very complicated process. It's a very sophisticated process. It's a multivariate. You have to keep several tracks in mind. And you have to be a critical thinker. You have to be able to say, okay, so you learned that. When the customer said that in particular, what does that imply about our business model? What does that imply about our price? What does that imply about the features of it? And frequently the entrepreneur will say, oh, well, that's a good question. Yes, it is a very good question. And we need to get an answer to what, so you constantly are, as a mentor, you're constantly thinking, what's the implication of what we heard? for our business model, and you need to be getting the entrepreneur to what? So what? So what's the implication of that to our business model?